The Helix and Spiral tool do exactly what their name entails. You can create helixes and spirals using this tool. Keep in mind with this tool you can only create straight helixes, and at the end of this video I'll discuss creating curved helixes using a swept surface. So to create either a helix or spiral using this tool, you need a reference circle. So we'll go ahead and create a sketch circle and give it a diameter of 3 inches. That'll bring us into the Helix Spiral tool. And we have several options to define the helix. We can define it by pitch and revolution, by height and revolution, and by height and pitch. So here, if I change this height to 4 inches, for example, and I change the pitch to 3, you'll see the helix update as I change these values. There's also a start angle, and if you're going to be using the helix for some sort of sweep, typically you'd want a start angle of 0 or 90 degrees if you want to go off of one of these base planes. Otherwise, if you have other geometry you're working with, you can change this to any value between 0 and 360 degrees. And once again, you can define it in any of those 3 ways, whichever works the best for you. You can also taper this helix, either inward or outward. So if I wanted to get it larger at the end, or smaller at the end, we can use this option. You can also edit these values directly in the workspace just by clicking into these windows. In all 3 of these helix tools, we have the option for a variable pitch. And if I choose height and pitch, for example, I can modify these 2 values and the revolutions column will be grayed out. And the same will be true for height if I choose pitch and revolution. So this will allow me to add in some values. I can change the pitch. I need to update the height if I change this. And you can also change the diameter if you want as well. With fairly extreme changes in the pitch or the size of the spiral, you may end up with a sharp corner somewhere within the helix. And you can pretty much fix this with any of the spline tools, or you can simply go back into the tool and make the change between these less extreme. But between any point in this helix, between 3 and 4 for example, this will gradually change between the 5-inch pitch and the 3-inch pitch, and it'll also gradually progress from the 6-inch to 3-inch. So it won't be a sudden change, it'll progress throughout that transition. The last item here is the spiral tool. And this has no vertical pitch, and you can define a horizontal pitch. So we can have this on the outside of the circle, or we can put it on the inside. And roughly the same options apply. Lastly, we can create a curved helix, just not with the Helix and Spiral tool. We'd need to create a swept surface. So you can create a path for that with any series of curves, splines, or straight lines. And then we can create a path just by drawing out a straight line. And if you wanted a 3-inch diameter circle, for example, for the helix, just like we had for the straight helixes, we can make this 1.5, as this will represent our radius. And this back point is going to represent the outside edge of the curve. Now if I come into surfaces and choose swept surface, I can choose out the profile and path, and within the options there's an option for twist along path. In here we'll choose turns, and then you can choose any number of turns that you want. Once we have this geometry, all we have to do is use a convert entities in a 3D sketch. And there we have our curved helix. So to create any of your straight helixes or spirals, you'll use that helix and spiral tool. And for any curved helix or any helix that's following some sort of path, you can use the swept surface tool.